Salutations, sippers and shooters, lovers of liquor, whatever the proof is. Nate and Morgan, Liquor on the Rock. Welcome to another weekly whiskey wrap-up. Now we have kind of up until this point done some more expensive, more special, unique releases, but we can't forget about the regular man. So we are back.
I have a problem.
A problem that's great for me. We're back with a little more affordable, 20, 25, 30, high 30s range. But we're taking it to the land of barley with an Irish whiskey flight. We will be featuring Paddy's whiskey, Conor McGregor's Proper 12, and a Black Bush from Bushmills. Well, actually, as Morgan lets me know, Proper 12 and Black Bush are Bushmills products. So
Yeah,
why don't you
both distilled there.
give us some knowledge?
All right, so basic things. Ireland is where whiskey got its start. Scotland got it later. So most of all the kind of knowledge we have came from Ireland, and they do things a little differently nowadays. Now, proper distilling methods usually are either come in two forms, either a pot still, which is, like it sounds, a big copper pot where they shove all their mashed and fermented stuff in it, boil it, and then it goes up one pipe and gets collected. Or what's called a column still or coffee still, and that's not like a coffee drink. And that pushes all the things up through a big column, and there's different collection plates all the way up through the column, so it's a easier way to distribute and break down the different alcohols that are coming off. Now, coffee stills are pretty primarily used everywhere. However, pot stills are kind of a point of pride and kept to use in Ireland. Coffee stills or column stills are more efficient. You can produce higher alcohol content, and you can run them continuously, while pot stills, you have to do one batch at a time, and you have to kind of break things down and take your time with it, which is why there's a little bit more volatile flavors still left in pot still things, and that's kind of what the Irish like to keep with because it's part of their pride and part of the flavor profile. In fact, the gentleman who kind of created the coffee still brought it to Ireland, and they said, no, we want to keep our flavor. And so he said, fine, I'll take it to Scotland. And the Scots were like, we can produce higher alcohol faster and cheaper? Heck yes, sign us up. So Irish whiskey was a bit more traditional as to like the original whiskeys. And it's not required, but it's kind of the commonplace is to have it triple distilled. So they distill a batch, they take it out, they distill it again, and they distill it a third time to get just as refined the alcohols out of that pot still as they can. Scotches are usually done twice, if only once through that column still. So also thing with Irish whiskeys is that they are very, very rarely peated. So the peated ones are definitely the exception, not the rule. And we don't have one on commercial. I couldn't get my hands on one in particular called Connemara does make a peated whiskey. I've never had it, but so Irish whiskeys would be things like Jameson. Everyone's had Jameson. Jameson should be pretty much at every bar. Bushmills.
Everybody's had too much Jameson.
Yes, we've had moments.
Shout out to college.
Yes, that's where I learned I don't like tequila anymore.
Yes, same.
Yeah, let's start it off. We can, whichever one Nate chooses, it's his call on that one.
Let's start with the Paddy's. And this I chose for the price point. I also enjoyed the design, the label. But anyway, Paddy's is, now this does not come from, there's only a few distilleries in Ireland these days, so it used to be...
Yeah, there used to be a lot more, and there's more and more coming. There was kind of they were distilling a whole bunch, and then due to a number of factors, be it, war with England and excise taxing and prohibition, Irish whiskeys used to be far more popular than Scottish whiskeys back in the day. And they're now, with the craft distilling movement and everything, they're picking back up. Paddy's comes from the same distillery that makes Jameson, as well as like the Redbreast offerings you may have seen out there. And so Middleton Distillery, home of the world's largest pot still, and 33,000 gallons, I believe. It's huge. They've got it out in front of the distillery. Go check it out if you ever in Ireland.
Excellent. Smells hot. Smells
Definitely getting like apple rind. There's a little bit of medicinal at the end of it, kind of that, for lack of a better term, the smell of an old vinyl Band-Aid. Just a teeny tiny bit of that, though.
And this is an 80 proof, so this will be a touch higher than these ones, right? The rest of these.
They're all, I believe, 40%.
They're all about that. Yeah. And Paddy's used to be. Tell me what it's from. Cork.
Yeah.
It used to be originally called.
The original name for Paddy's was Cork Distilling Company Map of Ireland Old Irish Whiskey.
A mouthful.
Yes. However,
I had to change that.
Gentleman named Paddy Flaherty was one of their primary salesmen in the early 1900s. Went around marketing this to different bars and restaurants, and was very successful. In fact, one of his big marketing gigs was to buy the entire restaurant around of his whiskey, and got himself very popular. So when the bar owners and things were calling up the distillery to order whiskey, they would just be asking for Paddy Flaherty's whiskey. And in 1913, they decided to change the name to Paddy's in honor of Mr. Flaherty and his great salesmanship.
That's a good tactic.
Yeah, buy everybody around.
You're always popular.
You make friends.
You buying around. Pretty tasty.
Yeah.
This, like you said, that they're triple distilled and then they're matured for 3 years minimum.
Yeah.
And Ireland is not constrained by some of the things that American bourbons are.
Right.
So they don't have to choose oak casks. They are free to experiment with other woods, non-oak. They can do. Sounds like they are doing, rum cask aging, cider cask aging.
That's the same.
What have you?
Yeah, they will use old American bourbon casks. A lot of times they use new American oak, which is pretty common. So it's a little bit get that bite, that fresh oak that's hadn't been mellowed yet. With the Paddy's, it's a little apple rind, a little medicinal on the nose. For me, it's cereal kind of flavored, like kind of toasty cereal, and then a little bit vanilla, a little bit of that apple still. Not too sweet.
It's pretty mellow.
Yeah.
It's not and it's kind of a nice finish. It's not super bitey. It's not super, the kind of vinyl Band-Aid thing you're talking about is there, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't throw me off.
It's a good smooth whiskey, especially at the price point. And Nate likes to make old fashioned out of it. Might be.
I like to
worth
make
trying.
old fashions out of anything.
Yes, fair.
But I do think that if I find a whiskey like this, maybe on the cheaper end, or even like the Proper 12, which we'll get into, it kind of has some limitations maybe on the flavor profile due to being pretty young. But for me, if you add a little bit of sweetening agent, some sort of sugar, I've got a bourbon smoked sugar at home, a little bit of bitters, you can play with any kind of bitters, and then some brightness from some sort of citrus garnish maybe. Anyway,
I promise we'll get him on
favorite.
making cocktail videos soon.
We'll get there.
It's the holiday season. It's tough on everybody.
Okay. Paddy's.
Let's go with Proper 12.
Yeah, let's bring out the notorious.
Now,
proper fucking 12.
I'll preface this with I am not a follower of MMA. Nate definitely is, so he'll have more information on the gentleman in question.
Yeah, you don't need to know much about Connor other than he's
very proud of his heritage.
He's very proud. 12 is the district of Crumlin that he's from. And a proceeds, part of the proceeds of each bottle goes to first responders in his area.
Coming from a firefighting and EMT family, I can get behind.
Yeah. He kind of, he considers that a heroic career path.
Yeah.
And proper just refers to proper Irish whiskey. He's marketing this. Well, they are marketing this as kind of the true everyman's drink. It's set to directly compete with Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
price point's about the same at around $25 or $29 to $30, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so, what you do have to know about this is Conor released this particular batch in conjunction with his last fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov. And I think that it was a little early. It seems to be the minimum that they could pull it out. They did.
I think a little bit was rushed to market. I know for a fact that they were buying their product from Bushmills. I think, honestly, if you go out and buy yourself a bottle of the Bushmills White Label, you will find a pretty similar scent and flavor profile. I feel we had a little taster. We got it right here, little teeny bottle type. I personally get a lot of medicinal off of this one. That Band-Aid smell comes to me pretty heavily. I mean, there's a little bit of, I don't know, tart apple in it.
There is a fair amount of that vinyl-y. I wonder if we could open it up a little. Want some of this?
Yeah, just a smidgen, just a little teeny bit. The taste, however, is very much like, I don't know, a subdued. It's very, I don't want to call it tart. It's kind of like that flavor hit you get when you bite into the rind of like a Granny Smith apple, but without the sweetness. It's replaced with that kind of like cereal grain that comes from these whiskeys. I'm not sure what the blends are with Irish whiskeys. They blend both malt and grain, and what the malt whiskeys are distilled with almost all barley. But the grains will be like only 20% barley and then 80% other stuff like wheat or rye or corn, which is very common. And they'll blend these all together. It's not bad as far as the flavor goes. The smell personally puts me off. I did buy a bottle of this earlier. I drank a bit of it and then discovered it was very good with ginger ale. Call it a proper ginger.
I did the old fashioned with this as well, and actually even just a little bit of blackstrap molasses bitters for me rounded out that kind of young taste and that vinyl-y smell.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
But since I am a fan of Conor McGregor, I am excited about the later releases from these guys.
Yeah.
Let it chill a little more, get some more flavor, get some more.
Yeah, if he releases an older age edition, I will be happily willing to try it.
Yeah.
A little drop of water did bring out that more of a toasty cereal, so that's not bad on that.
Yeah.
Not my favorite, but it's not bad.
All right. We shall move ourselves on to the Black Bush. This is what
There's no age statement on it, but I did some research online, and it's anywhere from 8 to 10 years. It's produced by Bushmills as well, but it spends a good amount of its time in used sherry casks. So this will have quite a bit of good sweetness to it, and I have a feeling like this is what Proper 12 could be, given a little extra time and consideration. But, you know, it might be a little too rich then, and not keeping with the common man, sort of. Get a little bit of, like, nana and cherry and apple. I always get a lot of apple from Irish whiskeys.
Yeah. And this is kind of a stronger nose than the other two. Definitely more apple for me. And banana, yeah.
It's got a much mellower mouthfeel. You don't really get any of the fire sometimes that you get from these Irish whiskeys. That spending extra time in the sherry cask really cuts it down a bit.
And something to be said when you're appreciating a whiskey, color is one of those elements, and something that the Proper 12 should be noted for the Proper 12 that they added a fair amount of caramel coloring. It sounds like,
And that's pretty common across Irish and Scottish whiskeys. It's not illegal. A lot of people feel that it's against the spirit of, whiskey making. It's kind of faking it. But like Laphroaig, we all love Laphroaig. That has caramel coloring into it. If you do want a very peated Scotch whiskey that doesn't have any caramel coloring, I think this is kind of one of their point of prides, is Ardbeg. Ardbeg is another one.
and now they do that simply for
Just the color.
for marketing.
It does
to
not
get that
add
beautiful.
any flavoring whatsoever. It's just the color, and it gives it a look of a lot older aging.
Because what some people might not know is that it goes in clear, right? Like it
Yeah.
goes in like a White Dog or any other distilled spirit. It goes in clear and it gets the color from aging in whatever casks they put it in. So yeah, I could see how it would be considered cheating, but
It's, it's a common practice.
yeah.
Black Bush is it's not Bushmill's like nicest offering. They do like a 16, they do a 21-year-old, do some other special editions, but at I think it was $32 price point, $34 price point at our grocery store, and that's with the island tax and the Washington State like 17% liquors tax. Howie. It's I think it's very mellow. It's definitely a sipper. I don't feel you need to add anything to it. You could probably cocktail it if you want. But drink it any way you want.
Yeah, this is a nice sipper. And did you mention that it was spent some time in sherry casks?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you will get that kind of sweeter, nice on the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. And now this is like high 30s, maybe
Yeah.
mid 30s. So if you're out there at the store looking for something you can sip on, with some ice or with whatever you want, then this is a good choice. If you want something to mix up for your friends, easy cocktail, whiskey ginger,
Yeah, if you're a
old
Jameson
fashioned,
fan, give this a
whatever.
shot.
Mhm.
Try at least a little bit slightly different flavor profile.
Mhm.
Either one of the Proper 12 or the Patties. Although
And-
Patty does come from, like I said, the same distillery that does make Jameson, though I'm sure their mash bill and blending is different.
Yeah.
Didn't really do any research on that. So, yeah.
And Irish whiskeys are they're making, in the grand scheme of things, they're an old thing becoming a new thing again.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast. I'll put the link in the description. And as far as I understand, they were once responsible for 60% of the world's whiskey sales,
Mhm.
and in a matter of a few years, they went down to 1 or 2%, owing to things like Morgan said, American Prohibition, the temperance movement by the Catholic Church,
Trade sanctions with England, so yeah.
and England saying, fine, have your republic, but we're pulling Irish goods. It was the drink of the empire at one point. So they're kind of making a comeback. It's becoming popular again. They're getting to do a lot more fun stuff, play with casks.
There's a
play
couple
with
of
woods.
smaller distilleries that are making their way worldwide. One that I want to try, but it's a little spendy at our little grocery store. It's close to 80. Is one called Baron Ishka, and that's Barran, and then Ishka is spelled with a U, UISCE, I believe. That comes from a small distillery, and they're making their way, and they've got a couple of good offerings for like the craft Irish distilling market, and they've got some good reviews. At some point, like to give them a try.
Yeah,
Of course, at some point, I like to get to Ireland and try all these in person.
Yeah.
It's on the bucket list.
I'm into that.
Yeah. But yeah, you make it over there, start trying out some distilleries. They're coming a long way.
Yeah, and all your liquor stores, some of your groceries should have an Irish section in the whiskey section. And like Morgan said, you'll find Redbreast, you'll find Jameson, you'll find a couple of these other names.
If you're a Jameson fan, they make a one that was aged again in extra charred barrels. Like their Jameson, like, is it double black? It's
I don't know. I've only seen
black
the
barrel.
cask mates, which
Yeah,
we should probably do at some point.
yeah,
'cause
the
they got some
stout
good ones.
and the IPA. But they make another one, like I think it's a double black. I cannot remember the name for the life of me, but I have had that, and I do like the little additional American bourbon feel that gives to it a little extra char in there.
Yeah. All right, so Irish whiskey is something to consider. They're going to be coming out with a lot of cool stuff. Like Morgan said, they'll be opening, I think they're at maybe 15 distilleries right now. They'll be doubling that in the next few years, it sounds like. So a resurgence of the Irish
Yeah.
is near. Anything
Well,
else?
No, thanks for watching, folks. Like the video if you see it.
Cheers, cheers. Tell your friends. What do the Irish say? Sláinte?
Sláinte.
Sláinte.